has been moved down. You see where it is down right there in front of the strongman's house, and that may not mean anything. That could mean anything. That could mean anything. That could also mean nothing. But it meant that if you're going to vote and you're going to vote in front of the strongman's house, you know what that means. This is happening live in Ajawa State. And so from Osoloway to Asafari to Latif Salami, we have the same complaint of voters who have been harassed and beaten up and told if you're not voting for the ruling party, get out of the polling units. We have videos that we can send you much later after this because we're getting those videos via all the devices when we're it live on television. But this is what we have for you. Ayo, you have something else for me?
Yes. The question that I naturally want to ask is, why are the security officials that are supposed to ensure that people are able to exercise their franchise?
I give an example of what either the electoral act says or what they have in terms of voting opportunity. So you see a polling unit like this, and you see policemen who are not armed, just one arm, this one here and this one here. I don't know how much they can do in terms of warding off. Election should be elections. People should be able to say, my choice is this, my choice of candidate choice is this, my choice of vote is this. But it doesn't come as simple as that can be or should be. And this is a worry, a big worry. Initially, in February 2015, we saw a lot of logistics issues, we saw a lot of challenges, moving materials and all of that. Today, we've seen laxity, we've seen lethargy, and we have seen voter suppression. And you ask, we prepared for years and beyond for a day like this, and we're still having this kind of situation. What does it really say as far as a voting country like this is, with the size of over a 200 million population, the most populous black nation in the world? We should actually get it right. I don't know what the reforms could be from this election, but INEC has got its job cut out for itself. The National Assembly has got its job cut out for itself. A situation whereby you have people who are not armed. And even the military detachment that are coming around here have told us clearly, we can't stay with you, we can only patrol. If we see pockets of violence, then we can step in. So we're taking a chance to do this on the street of the strong man, and hoping that it stays at doing our job, and all of the apparatuses of government will be kicked in. And places like this where we all know that will be a stronghold for any party to want to take. Remember what happened in presidential elections? All of these were lost. The ruling party lost all of these places, and I'm sure, I think maybe they don't want a repeat of that incident around here. Perhaps, Ayo.
Well, we'll have to let you go. So, as we always say, we want you to remain safe wherever you are, because I know that that's not your last stop. You're still going to go to one or two other places. Just keep safe wherever you are right now, okay?
And when I asked if something was new, I think his shirt is new.
Yeah, he has changed his shirt as Louis says.
I know it's
Yeah, but it's also that. Just keep going, all right?
Thank you, Lou. We'll get back to you.
But it's also important to mention, this security thing is actually quite concerning, and we mentioned earlier that we're hoping that the police spokesman in Lagos will speak, but we've been able to reach out to the Commissioner of Police in Lagos, who says, well, he's going to speak to us later on. And most certainly expected, because there's been quite a number of issues in various parts of the state. We've talked about Oshodi, we've talked about
we're hearing things from more of the areas as well.
Exactly. So he would want to compile all of that and give us a comprehensive report, so to speak.
But I wanted to talk to Oluwatobi on this particular issue, but I know that you're also tracking some issues that has to do with the election. Now, speaking to the violence, there are some electorates, because of what happened in the last election, they are coming out literally combat ready. Does this justify that disposition?
I think that people need to protect themselves, and I think we've seen a case where someone got killed, and we're yet to verify, in self-defense, and people are trying to protect themselves. I think there are other trends that we are seeing across the country. In Kwara, Kogi, there's a lot of vote buying going on.
And we'll speak to that. My apologies, Dr. Oluwatobi. We'll speak to that, but this question of security or a lack of it, that people, the significance of it is quite telling. Well, we are happy again to reiterate that the Commissioner of Police in Lagos is have now
Speak to
compiling
now coming
information
to talk to us.
to talk to us, later on today, to ensure that at least police is on top of its game.
And they're doing that area of surveillance
Exactly,
as well in
just
Lagos.
to ensure things go the way they ought to go. We have a number of guests to bring up later, but speak to that very, very quickly. The question that of
That Geoffrey asked.
security and all of that. Yeah,
I think to be clear that the security of elections is in the hands of the police and the security services. So just like you rightly said, the head of head of police in Lagos is about to speak to us. Let's hear what they have to say, because a lot of people, there's a tendency that people then think it's INEC, but the elections are a multi-stakeholder engagement, and everybody has to play their role. The security services particularly have to play their role, and I think that there's a lot of fear, and rightly so, and suppression as well, but at the same time there's still also lots of places where things are peaceful, and I think it's important that the security services communicate promptly so that people can have the peace and the comfort required to come out to vote, because I think it's having a big impact on turnout.
yeah. You talked about it rightly also, that it's a multi-stakeholder engagement in terms of the security.
Yeah.
The question that I wanted to ask Olu, but I just wanted him to leave that environment because of its because I wanted to do that, is that we understand that there's supposed to be at least 2 layers of security. There are supposed to be at least 2. One is the police unarmed. The second one is supposed to be an armed outer corridor, and then the third is to be the roving. Now it's the roving that Olu just told us now, that they said that they can't stay with the policemen right there because they are not armed, and that they can only rove. It means that there is a layer of security missing, right?
Yeah, it means that there is a layer of security missing. It also, it's true that the roving one cannot stay in one place because it defeats the purpose. They're supposed to be, and it's also a police roving team. So they're supposed to be communicated. They should be like 5 minutes away from any sports. But the police guys are the polling units, not carrying arms. Do not have walkie-talkie. You cannot rely on phone network to communicate and call for enforcement, and that is if they want to anyway. And my worry really started before even today, when we started to hear some communities calling for traditional rights, Oro, and all of that. I would have expected the IG, the police commissioner, to have come out strongly and said that none of that, because we're having an election that supersedes every other thing you think you want to do. The security business is that of the security agencies. We know traditional institutions have their role, but really in this business, we need the security agencies to be on top of the game. So because a lot of that were not addressed, the police didn't come out. So
The police yesterday did. The PPRO talked about it and said, because this election is coming up, except you mean that it didn't come out as at the time the announcement was made.
As of last night, about 8 p.m. while I was still driving, there was still announcement on radio that traditional rights will happen in certain places from 12 midnight to 4 a.m. Don't move, don't. And when you look at Lagos traffic yesterday, for instance, I just hope that things have not happened that we're not aware of. Because that Lagos traffic yesterday, people would definitely get to their localities by 1 a.m. or thereabout. Yeah. So some of these things should have been nipped in the bud. It's not necessary at all. Because you have heightened, people have been scared, So that probably explains. Perhaps at the end of the day, we'll see if it has had effect. But it's also possible that has had effect on people's reluctance, to come out, and also people's trust that the police will live up to its responsibility. And the day is not gone yet, because this is the early part. We expect the police to up their game here. The military are around too to support them. You see where your correspondence was initially. It took the military, to actually come in. So they are there, but we need the police first to be the first layer of security for them to be able to call in reinforcement. Now we are going to move from here to the rack centers, and that's where this real thing starts.
Okay. Well, there's a lot more to talk about, but we need to take a break, take a few messages, and when we return, a number of other people that are going to be joining us for this conversation. So please stay with us.
Become your best self with new and exciting data plans from 9Mobile. Visit www.9mobile.com.ng or any of our 9Mobile Experience Center. 9Mobile, here for you, here for Naija.
Good afternoon, sir. Please, I need a room to rent in your house.
Okay, where do you work?
I'm a nurse.
That means you won't owe me rent. Congratulations, young lady. You have yourself a house.
So thank you so much, sir. So, how much is the rent?
90,000 naira. Oh, but wait, where are you from?
I am from Akamata.
Akamata what? Akamata in my...
Wait, just wait a moment. Hello? Who is this? Yes. Let them be done with their you can see situation on ground from the reports we are getting here. You can also watch. Nevertheless, power to is just the main time. There is nobody, no power, no position you can remain in life if you did not go out of the seat. Death will take you out of the seat, or old age will take you out of the seat, or however, in either of these things. So please, we appeal to everybody, when I mean everybody, including ourselves, our family members, our friends, relatives, please, let's try to do things right. I appeal to you. Let's try to do things right. This shouldn't reoccur again after all the troubles, the traumas, and everything you went through 25th February 2022, 23 rather, on presidential election. I believe this time around, the security personnel should have put things in place before now. Yes, we are counting on Nigerian police of being proactive over this kind of a thing. But come to think of it, how will police act when the police is not mobile? Some of these hoodlums are actually under influence of one thing or the other, which you can't say. And they are so desperate of giving the mandate to whosoever they so desire. Police officers are family members of other people. They are parents to other children. They are husband and wives to people out there that they put on the uniform as a police officer. There is little they can do when they are not armed because they are human beings as well. They are not spirits. If they are being confronted by these hoodlums that probably have knife, dagger, bottles, broken bottles and all that in their pockets and whatsoever. And these are people that engage themselves in all manners of violence on daily basis based because of their kind of job they do every day. A police officer that is not trained, I believe police is not trained for to engage themselves in violence or having exchange of blow or hitting each other or object and so on. So if they are trained on how to hold or make peace in an environment and a situation where you want to make peace and whosoever that is bent on creating on enabling environment and bringing all kinds of troubles or conduct likely to breach public peace, and the police officers is not armed or anything, any defensive gadget with him. What did you expect? What are you expecting the police officer to act? Acting the only thing the person will not act, but quietly either even send a message from his phone, because some of them might have this walking talking, and the walking talking while you are speaking every other person around you is hearing, and even people whom you are speaking to, whosoever is by that person will actually hear your conversation with the person, except on having a code conversation as regard to the polling votes or what is going on and all that, how we're taught in the police college and how to have a fluent conversation codedly with your co-officers. Aside that, what else can the police officer that is not armed do to a hoodlum that is obstructing a process of a peaceful election? Absolutely, the answer is they have nothing. They can do nothing except that they have to communicate with those that are armed, that are patrolling around, so that they can equally patrol to that area. But who knows the distance between the polling booths and where the armed officers are? Because if they are in Surulere, an incident is taking place in Ikeja or however, maybe they are in the central area in Ikeja and something else is happening within other of central area in Ikeja and everything, how will they cover the area before they arrive the scene of the incident? The hoodlums or whosoever that is obstructing the process must have disappeared or escaped or run and succeeded in whatsoever, because they also monitor. And don't forget that some officers also work with these people, because that you are an officer doesn't mean you have no siblings or you don't have friends. Some of them, their friends are actually the candidates of these parties and others, and they want to work in favor of their party, their friends or their family member, not minding that it have an oath to take as a police officer, military officer, or any personnel or officers they are representing. So, however, we'll still believe, we'll still hope that there's nothing God cannot do. What God cannot do does not exist. Let's hope for God's intervention. We always hope that it's only God. As an individual, as a person, as a human being, of course, we can do what we feel we can do best within our own ability, but the rest is for God. When you stop your ability, God then start from there. So let's just hope no life should be lost. It should be peace. It should be peaceful, and it should be fair, and not for everybody to be happy, instead of demoralizing people emotionally because you deprive them of exercising their civic rights. It is not right. It's not right, even in the sight of God. A seed that you take that does not belong to you, and you never allow God to perfect his own will in the lives of people, you cannot enjoy such seeds, because calamity will befall on you when you don't allow God to act in his own way. Please, let nobody be found do something that is not worthy or not justifiable before God and before man. It is unfair. Please, let's move on. Thank you. Let's hear from other observers.
Welcome. Okay. We also have a security expert in the person of retired AIG Wilson Inalibu, who joins us from Abuja.
Please, if you have any
thank you. Yes, thank you for joining us. Let me begin with you, Dr. Seidu Dukawa. You have been following the process, and we've taken quite some reports from Kano State as well this morning.
If you have any proof of your reports or whatsoever, you can also send it to our WhatsApp line on 08033024550, or you can send it to our as you are just chatting, and you can send it there. We'll allow it uploaded for observation, but there shouldn't be maybe a blood whatsoever. Should not be graphic, but if there is any obstruction of any kind, you can send it down. We admit to allow it to flow and let the authority look into it. For however, we want a peaceful environment and peaceful election for everybody and not for anybody. Please, please. Please let our comments be objective, okay? It should not be derogative, so that we'll be able to harmonize it, we analyze it, and we'll think of something reasonable. Hope is not lost, but the only way you can lose hope is when you give up hope, or when you relent, or when you withdraw from a battle. As far as you are alive and everything, you put up all your possible best to achieve whatever you want. Okay? Life isn't easy. Even in the Bible, they say that since the time of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. When it's a violence, it's not violence as in fighting or killing people, and not that. Prayerful, being strong in your pursuits and everything, and that's why what it should be. Please. Sorry, where I voted in Alimosho here, it was peaceful. It was peaceful. It's all that I left my phones in the car and had to. It's a walkable distance, and it was peaceful. It was peaceful. I don't know why things like this should be repeating again for the last time. We just appeal. Let the government speak to everyone. Let each candidate please calm situation via talking to the whosoever that is heading their supporters teams and all that. Let it be peaceful. Do you know you can win my mind voting for you because of the manner in which you approached me? Do you know that I can deny not to vote because I can bluntly refuse to vote? Depends on your approach to me. Please, let's be reasonable. Let's be reasonable. Let's be reasonable. Please.
The Chirenchi area, which is Gwale and Kano Municipal. Gwale area happens to be where one of the governorship candidates comes from. And the Kano Municipal area also, we have where the chairman of one of the major political parties come from. Initially, they used to even be from the same voting point. But I think INEC in his wisdom separated that recently. So the tug of war in that area was so high. And that was where you have a bit of skirmishes this morning. And as I speak with you, the police have been able to arrest some, although as of this moment, the police have not confirmed it. But we saw it because there were some people that were caught with ballot papers, and there were fake observers also that were discovered. So you see, when you look at it, we have almost about 15 political parties participating in the governorship race in Kano, but there are about 4 or 5 that are seriously main contenders, and when you narrow it down, it's like a two-horse race. That is from the incumbent political party that is in the state and the leading opposition party.
Well, Mr. Abubakar Jones will most certainly take it up on that, because I mean that's a security concern you just expressed to us, and we're just hearing now that in Katsina State, one bandit is said to have been set ablaze after he failed his failed attempt to disrupt elections. To disrupt the election process along General Hospital in Batsari local government area of Katsina State. Witnesses say the bandit, alongside another co-conspirator such as himself, were intercepted by a team of security forces. One bandit said to be set ablaze after his failed attempt to disrupt the elections along General Hospital in Batsari local government area of Katsina State. Well, that raises naturally another angle to the entire conversation around election security, which takes us to you, AIG Wilson Inolibu, retired. This is Katsina State, and there are a number of other areas where we've heard all kinds of security attempts by various elements to disrupt the electoral process. What is your assessment so far about the entire process, but perhaps specifically speaking to the areas of concern that you have heard about? An example is that which happened with our colleague here, correspondent Olu Phillips.
Well, when you make security provision for an election as huge as that of Nigeria, with over 93 million voters, you cannot completely keep it off incidents. They happen, but what do? You take every measure to prevent, to mitigate, and reduce to the barest minimum issues of security concern. And these are issues that were planned for. That means you look at the threat analysis, and you're able to develop strategies for dealing with those threats that may manifest during the process. And so the situation that we have, that I have watched your program all day, and I've also gone to read all about. I think on a general note, the situation around the country is calm and peaceful. Of course, there will be pockets of violence, such as the one you talked about in Katsina. I think there was a report about Amo Odofin in Lagos. But I think overall, because most of the officers under the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security are properly deployed at almost every polling unit. Of course, you have the issue of inadequate manpower, you have the issue of equipment, but by and large, efforts have been made by the Nigeria Police Force and other security agencies to deal with those issues. And also have attempted to disrupt the process. I think I've been arrested. But the visibility of the security forces at the polling units is quite impressive. Like you were discussing, those manning the polling units are not armed. But those in the outer perimeter, where you have the kind of critical mass that are there to respond when they are informed or there is a communication between them and those at the polling unit. But there is no way you can make security provision for such a huge event and you can completely keep it off incident. And that is why I say what you do is to, prevent, mitigate, and reduce to the barest minimum. But I think Nigerians are going about exercising their franchise peacefully. And I think they should be reassured. But then, starting from this time, especially from 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, when people begin to have an idea of this, where the election is swinging, that's when attempts will be made to disrupt the process. That's when attempts will be made to snatch ballot boxes, so that where they think they don't have advantage, they could disrupt and also suppress. So I think this is the time for proper situational awareness by the security agencies, particularly those officers deployed at polling units and those conducting patrols within the precincts or vicinity of the polling units. It's a time for vigilance, it's a time for quick response to respond to any critical incident that will be brought to their knowledge. From this moment is a time for extra vigilance by all security agents deployed at the polling units and on patrols along the route and near those places. Extra vigilance from this time to collation and all the rest of them.
All right, AIG, let's stay on this security issue with you. All lives matter by every standard. And we see incidents where people mention the word pockets of incidents. I'm sure you've mentioned that word as well. So I wanted to find out by what parameter do security agencies adjudge the situation to be widespread enough to cause worry? Because I started with all life matters at the end of the day.
Of course, when you are making preparation arrangement to provide security for such an event, you want to totally eliminate any incident of that could threaten the peaceful process, any violence that could threaten this. But when you make this preparation and you believe that you've taken unnecessary precaution, but from nowhere something can come up. Of course, you want to prevent anything that will affect any life. But when we say pocket, when you don't have house spread, assuming now you have in Katsina, you are reporting somewhere in Katsina, you get another incident in Nasarawa, in Kano, and it's becoming a kind of connection, as if it is planned to be so massive and all that. But where you have isolated incidents and they don't appear to be widespread, then you can say that these isolated incidents and then measures have been taken to address those. But when you don't have it on that scale that could threaten significantly the process, you could describe that as pockets of violence. And I think what we've had today from media coverage and other medium that I have been able to assess, I think the situation across the country is peaceful.
Sorry for cutting in. AIG, I wanted to find out from you still, I know we have a lot of guests to talk to, but since this is a security issue, my question perhaps has to do with places where analysis have been done in terms of security threats, and then these things have happened maybe in a 2019 election, and it is happening again in a 2023 election. And some persons say that if it's the first time it's an accident, a second time it's coincidence. But when coincidence becomes excessive, it becomes deliberate, which is why if every time it happens, say in location A, say in 2019 it happens in location A, in 2023, maybe 3 times consecutively, and nothing is done, doesn't that kind of allow for impunity and people to just go and do whatever they want, knowing that it's just going to be another election where it's going to be categorized as pockets of incident yet again, because it's not as widespread as expected?
Yeah, but you know that they may not be happening in particular places. You have situations whereby you only have checkpoints along the highway. And say you have to record some incident. It's not that measures are not being taken, but the man will choose his target and you do everything you can to be able to get him in the act or prevent him from coming. Of course, you could have had even much more incidents. I think it's because of the security strategy that have been crafted that are dealing with the situation. That's why we are sitting here to describe them as isolated. You see, unless you have the complete record, because it happened in Katsina is a state, it doesn't mean that they're happening in the same locations. For example, when we talk about FCT, something could be happening around Kwali, and you take every measure along that route. You cannot say it cannot happen somewhere close to Zuba. But every measure is being taken. That is the situation.
Come back to Lagos and to our guest here, beginning with you, Mr. Igwabo. This is the dimension we're seeing, moving from some of the pockets in Lagos, voter suppression, to, that extreme measure taken in Katsina, which it seems people taking things into their own hands with that. And seeing as, some of the experts have also said, the crucial moments, the crucial time is really what we're heading into, just a few minutes to 2 o'clock today, and that will be after the voting ends, the collation. What your expectations are for security agencies?
Yes, sincerely, I'm a bit worried by the report from Katsina, especially the part that says that they were intercepted by security officials. So how did it then end up being burnt? Because we also need to be careful. It's easy to commit a crime and label the victim. So that's really quite worrisome. But really, the Inspector General of Police at this time should be standing up to all his DIGs, his AIGs, his commissioners, and really pressing down their neck to step up the game. Because, like Jeffrey was saying,
what do we do at this point in time? Can the IGP of police, the AIGs, the Commissioner of Police, and all sorts tell us what to do by this moment? Are they coming back to tell us stories after all this obstruction? Please.
I'm not happy that I'm saying this, that the military needs to show more presence. It's quite unfortunate, not in 2023 should we be saying this, but it is our current reality, because we don't want any lives lost, and we do not want people being disenfranchised because of threat of violence. And if I may quickly pushing for the people in VGC, I know that their protest is valid, but my personal advice would be that perhaps they should demand for more security and go use the location that INEC has given them, because there's no way INEC is going to come back to rerun the election, and they will not. They perhaps would have lost the opportunity to, express that protest through their vote. So it's just an advice. They probably know better, but that is just the way.
How does the law address that? Because there is first of all, there is a place where the list of voters is supposed to be pasted, which is where the polling unit is. So it might go to court, but I can tell you that it's not going to be part of the results that will determine the next governor in Lagos.
I want to take that question. That's before you weigh in. This is to Mr. Abubakar Jos also about what kind of force do you think the police should be doing now as we move, slowly, surely into that next stage?
If we look at it for, hello?
Yes, go right ahead. We can hear you.
If we look at it from the situation of what happened in Kano this morning, relatively, the security agent, their presence is well felt in the town. In most of the polling areas, you can as well find adequate security. But we have to be very honest with ourselves in the instance whereby
what is adequate security and what effect have their presence done to the whole election process? I saw a team of EFCC this morning at the area where people are yet to come out, and they say they are patrolling against any form of vote buying and any form of such. Okay, then we saw 1 or 2 military personnel, even where people have already started crying out of denying them access to exercise their civic rights. What did they do? We watched the police, the military man, talk to people that the channel officials were pointing at, that yes, this person obstructed us, this person stopped us from performing their duties, this person stopped other citizens from exercising their civic rights and all that. And they were just almost like how many of them coming out to attack the guy, confronting him and all that. The policeman there was just sitting, pressing his phone, without even trying to make any effort, asking them, no, calm situation. You must not be armed, you must not shoot to make peace. Verbally, you can make peace by trying to mediate as a police officer. He was not doing anything. He was busy pressing his phone there. But that is just, no matter what, no matter how, no matter what amount you are being given to do whatever you are doing, you should be able, even try to pretend, more reasonable. People are watching across the world. Channel television is not a local television. It's just like a social media as well. They are on social media. But nothing was done to that effect. We just saw it was even the military guy that was like trying to talk to them, though we're not hearing what they were saying, but it was like trying to caution everybody, advising them and all that before we saw the other police officer talking and all that. Why? Why must it be? Why must it be? Why must it be that way? It's annoying. Even if Saolu is our choice of person that we should vote, things should be done in the proper way. It shouldn't be something that it shouldn't be done in a way that they feel, okay, you buy our vote. No. It should be done in a way that people will feel the process is transparent, free and fair.
Place that is not allowed, except if I want my car burnt or if I want to live here dead as a corpse. I said, okay, I turned my car facing the exit. They came and started breaking my car. They broke, they hit with their big stick. They hit me and broke my hip. Broke my neighbor too. You know, we equally went back there and they started beating me. You know, slapping me and hitting me. Is that how we're going to be one Nigeria? One can be allowed to exercise his right as a citizen to vote. It's wrong, it's very bad, I don't like it.
So we got the underbridge, they say we should go back, that this is not our district, that we're not going to treat them. So going back, some boys rushed me, I don't know if he has a story with him, he hit me on the head, I started seeing blood, I have to fight back, so this is the blood on my body. So we met some staff, I don't know if they are INEC staff, they have some band on them, they said okay, that we should go back, we should leave them for now and go back. Now vote in my regime, but we should just go back.
It was only in for shit. They are driving away Labour Party supporters. They are flogging them and saying if you don't vote, if you can't vote APC, you go home. That's the situation here in for shit. Council wards.
This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. Let's hear from them.
But these are also things that we're receiving in Lagos now. So what would be your suggestion as to taking this further?
Honestly, the security agents need to up their game. Because the security agents are supposed to give confidence to the electorate so that they won't be disenfranchised. An electorate that comes to vote believes that with the security agents around, he or she will be protected. But that was not what happened this morning that I'm talking to you about, because right there in the glare of everyone, the security agents were there, journalists were there, and the political party chieftain insisted that if you're not voting for this particular party, you will not be allowed to vote here. Even some electorates, ballot papers were even done. So what the security agent just seems as if probably it was a normal situation.
I have voted though. I have voted.
Okay. Well, Mr. Obakajo, thank you. Let me ask you, Dr. Dukawa, from your experience in the field of political science, one of the natural questions that will come to my own mind about that, Dr. Dukawa, is what level of political education do we have to get to before this can be reduced significantly? Because it seems we always come to this particular point. Dr. Dukawa, that's for you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I said it's really quite unfortunate given the level of political sensitization that took place. There was a lot of mobilization, so many interest groups, so many stakeholders have participated in raising the consciousness of people, in calling upon people to be law-abiding, to avoid all forms of surgery, and so on and so forth. It's quite intriguing that these kind of reports are still being reported. But I think beyond political education, the larger part of the work, it needs to be done at the level of governance. Until and unless we attain the desired level of good governance, I don't think any form of political education will do in this kind of situation. By the time politicians consider governance as a matter of personal aggrandizement, so far as there will be abundant resources in the offices of politicians, and the day-to-day business of governance is suffering, so long as there will be this kind of cutthroat competition among politicians, and so long as there is cutthroat competition, so long there will be surgery and all forms of political violence, which we have been preaching against. So I think the incoming leadership is the one that needs the political education actually now, not just the ordinary electorates or even the political thugs that we are complaining about. Let the leadership deliver on good governance, and then you will find lesser corruption in the system, and then you will find lesser stiff competition regarding electoral posts, and then you will see that all these complaints have disappeared gradually. That's my take on that.
And Dr. Dukawa, one wonders about the essence of, the peace accord. But we understand our correspondent, Olu Phillips, is also in Amuodofi, in one of those areas. Just before we come back to you, Dr. Dukawa, hold on. Olu Phillips, he is covering Amuodofi area, and this is one of the areas we've just seen that video comments, eyewitness accounts of their experience, their voting experience, which turned sour earlier today. Olu, what has changed where you are right now?
Okay, so we are on the Khalid Street here off Agua Palace, which is linked to Amuodofi. We're actually on our way to get a switch. I don't know if my cameraman can help me. The papers you see littered on this floor and in this dirty water are papers from the polling unit 008, and some hoodlums have attacked this polling unit. You can see that glass, they smashed the glass. The voting was very right, very good until this began to happen. The accreditation paper, everything torn in shreds. The voting paper, all turned in shreds. And I understand that the INEC officials had to take to their heels. Even the police woman that was attached to this place had to run away because of the hoodlums who attacked this building. If you look at this stretch of the street, these are the number of people that have been disenfranchised from voting, and those who have voted. The votes may not count because it's all been torn away and turned into stress. I'm going to talk to someone who will give us a valid information about what happened here earlier. Can you tell us what happened, please?
Okay, they came to cast our votes as good citizens. But then, before we knew it, we had talks coming here with tools, canes. They were chasing people away from them. They kept on saying things like, if you're not voting APC, get out of here, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna beat you. They started scattering everything. They scattered everything here. They were threatening people, they were breaking boxes, they were throwing stones, cussing them, and people started running from place to place because they were scared for their lives. Honestly, because if you wanna say, okay, yeah, you wanna die for your country, it's Nigeria even got dying for.
No, but the Nigeria is what dying for. But the question to ask is, what happened to the security person that was here when all of this was happening?
Well, the security personnel, they were not of much help, honestly. They're here to, like, make sure everyone is safe during elections. They were not of much help.
So what has happened to your ballot? What has happened to your votes? It's going to count.
It's not going to count, as we all heard. It's not going to count. Okay, yeah, because they found the materials, and then at the end of the day, the police the police went away with the INEC officials and also with our BVAS. So they said the votes that were being cast here before the talks came would not be counted, meaning our votes here are invalid, which is very, very wrong, because we all came out in one. Some people even flew into the country to vote. Now our votes are being invalid just because of Trump. They destroyed everything.
Okay, so this is the situation here on Waida Kani Street. We thought that we're not going to run into a situation where we'll find ballot box snatching. We had reported up to now that there has been ballot snatching, but we've just reported one now here off Agor Palace Way, where people have snatched, and the votes here have been cancelled by way of being torn into shreds, and make totally all the people that have here with the PPCs might not be able to continue this exercise because the ethnic officials, both ad hoc and those that have come to carry out this exercise today, have all fled. And it raises the question again, what we've been saying all day. We knew that places like this was going to be vote friendly. Now, so what happens to close to 200 to 250 people I'm told in this unit that try to vote? You can say this is annex material. There's no annex official here to take care of it. This is an annex. This is a ballot box. This is another ballot box. Nobody here to count it. Nobody here to take care of it. There's no caretaker here as it were. All the people on the floor. It's a sad situation here in Agor Palace Way.
And one also wonders, did they take off with the BVAS? Do we know what has happened to it?
So we understand that they didn't come with shots were not fired, but stops were used, bottles were used, so people scampered for safety. And so the BVAS in this unit has been taken away. The ballot papers have been torn and thrown on the floor. So there's technically and ultimately nothing to record anyone who have come out here to vote today. There is no record except that BVAS is recovered.
That was taken away by the thugs or were taken away by the officials of INEC?
Yeah, by the thugs, we're told, by the thugs.
Well, one wonders. Anyway, as we've often said, just keep safe and please counsel everyone around there to please keep safe, because at the end of the day, yes, you're right, Nigeria is worth dying for, but we should all take the counsel of former President Jonathan that the blood of no Nigerian's blood is worth the election of any Nigerian. Thank you so much, Olu, for your reporting.
It's quite shocking to see that the new target now, they could leave the ballot papers, but they go away with the BVAS. Because at the end of the day, BVAS is the primary source of verification, primary source of evidence for anything that happens at that polling unit. I know you were talking to Professor Let. Before we go back to him, I know that you've been following up on your guys in the field and the situation as well when it comes to this security.
Sorry, Geoffrey, if you hear my sincere apologies, because I know I was also angry to hear what Dr. Oluwatola has to say, but being a security issue now, and being the fact that the policemen, as we heard our correspondent say, have not been able, they had to walk away with these INEC officials. Can we quickly ask Ms. Ainalebu's position on all of these?
Well, it's very troubling that this could happen almost in the heart of Lagos. But I think the officers who were deployed in that area shouldn't have allowed this to happen. And I think the Commissioner of Police Lagos we'll be looking critically at this incident. First of all, how many were the officers deployed at that polling unit who allowed this to happen? I want to believe that the police must have gone with both the INEC officials and Beaver's machine. If they went there to evacuate INEC officials, I think they would have also gone with it. But at this stage, we cannot say. I think where this happened, we should have had enough response, enough warning indicating that this could take place. I think there's more to this, but the situation that I watched on television is very troubling, and it shouldn't have been allowed to happen. But I believe that the Commissioner of Police Lagos, a smart young man, must be talking to the officers who are deployed within that vicinity. This is the election is a civil process. The incident that happened by these illegal substance users should not be allowed to happen. And so what I expect the Commissioner of Police will do is to interview the officers that were deployed to that area, to give him an account of what happened. And if they were found culpable, I think different action will be taken against them. And I think INEC should not allow these people to succeed, because the election in this place, I would recommend, should be repeated and more security provided. People like this should not get away. An arrest must be made. And I believe that Idowu, CP Lagos, is not going to just allow this go. And I think it's going to look at within that area. I'm sure within that area you will discover that there must have been some Igbo and other users. All the enclave everywhere around there will be raided, and I think arrests will be made. And I pray that our justice system, which sometimes is slow, will act swiftly. Because if you have weak social control, such impunity can happen. And I think whoever made this attempt should be made to face the full wrath of the law, so it doesn't happen. It's unfortunate, and I want to appeal to the voters there to continue to remain calm, but the police will act and other security agencies will act.
All right, AIG.
Unfortunate.
AIG, we're going to come back to you pretty soon, because it appears we have a lot of concerns when it comes to security issues. But let's head to Rivers State, Port Harcourt. Let's just say Rivers State now, where Charles Oporoma, correspondent, is standing by to bring us the latest update from there. Charles?
Yeah, hi, Jeff. I'm standing by. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Charles, we can hear you. We can see you clearly. So where are you at the moment? Are you still in Gukana or Kana? You've left that area?
Okay. Right now, I'm back to Port Harcourt, the capital city. I am in front of the INEC Rivers State headquarters along Aba Road here. If you look behind me, you will see a crowd of people, and you may be wondering what is happening here. Why is there a crowd of people here? Well, what I understand is that these are the guys that are going to be serving as collation officers. They are waiting for their posting. Some of them have received the appointment letters, but they do not know where they are going to be posted to. And it's quite interesting because some of them are going to be posted to places as far away as Bonny, where you have to cross water to go. And one wonders why, they struggle to get them posted. You see how you can see that they are following the INEC official to get a posting. But that is, by the way, earlier today I was in Ogoniland, I was at Kana local government, I was in Gokana local government, and of course I was also at Eleme local government, to mention but a few of the local governments I visited, and everywhere I visited, really everything was going smoothly, except for a little disturbance in Bori. Bori is the headquarters of Kana local government. When I got to Bori, I discovered there was some kind of protest, some kind of disagreement, and I spoke to a few of the people who were protesting there, and I discovered that some people were complaining that they had issues with the electoral materials They complained about the beavers. They said they were alleging at the time that there may have been issues with the beavers. I tried to talk to the electoral officer there. He refused to speak to me on camera, but he told me that there was nothing wrong with the beavers, and it was a misunderstanding from some of the party agents during their inspection, when he allowed them to inspect the electoral material. And indeed, some other party agents from some other parties said the same thing. They said, no, it was just a mere misunderstanding, but eventually, they deployed materials in Bori, and voting started at the time I left there to return to Bera, where I had been earlier. And at Bera, I saw one of the governorship candidates, Senator Magnus, have the votes, and he left, and it was a smooth process right there. I haven't witnessed anything untoward so far during my tour of the states, especially the Ogoniland, the River Southeast Senatorial District, where I've been all through since morning.
All right, Charles, I know that from Gokana, or Kana, where you're coming from, you should have passed through maybe Tai and Ileme, and then passed through Obiakpo, some part of Obiakpo, Rumola, artillery area down to Port Harcourt. So you have a fair understanding of like 4 local government just because you transited all the way from Gokana down to Port Harcourt. So what did you see on your way from this local government, Tai, Eleme, Obiakpo, and now to Port Harcourt local government?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. If you are heading towards Ogoni area, which is in Rivers Southeast Senatorial District, you will definitely have to pass through Eleme local government area, Tai local government area, Gokana local government area, and Kana local government areas. Of course, I took off from Obiakpo local government area, where the headquarters of INEC is. In some places, the very first place I stopped at was a place called Nteo village in Eleme. At the time when I got there, which was at about 8:30, 8:35 a.m., no electoral materials had arrived at that moment. I think I filed that report in at the time, and I spent like 10-15 minutes there interacting with some of the community, members of the community, and they were patient. They said, yes, they know that it's not an easy process deploying, but they were very, very optimistic that the materials would come because they were in touch with their colleagues at the RAC centers. And then, of course, I got to, like I said before, I got to Kana, I got to Gokana, and on my way back, I stopped at Alisa in Eleme local government area, where I saw voting happen. But one thing that struck me is the level of voter apathy. The level of voter apathy it's significant it's quite significant because I saw a lot of people playing football on the roads. The roads are empty. So you would, along Akbajo area of Port Harcourt, you would see people, they will mount tires in the center of the road, young boys, playing football. And there was a place where I stopped to observe what was happening. I saw an elderly woman talking to them and asking them to go and vote. And they were just very despondent. They were saying their votes wouldn't count, and so there was no need for them to go out and vote, and they are here to play football, So I witnessed this a couple of times at about 3 different places in the city. But in the villages, the situation was a bit different. Yes, there was voter apathy, but I did not really see people, playing football while voting was happening. So that is the situation here in Rivers State, the places where I covered, Rivers Southeast.
All right, Charles, our eyes on River State, as you know, of course, like every part of the country, but we'll get back to you for more development. So just keep safe and keep watching and keep giving us the information that you have available to you. Let's bring it back to the studio. You've seen everything that has happened, the security issue in Lagos, and of course, we're expecting the Commissioner of Police to provide some answers at the end of the day. But you've also heard from River State how things are panning out as well. So what are your thoughts there, especially when it comes to security?
Yeah, on the security issue, when the day started, I started on a very optimistic